want to talk about an interview that Joe Kernen did with Democratic Senator Ruben Gallego. They got pretty heated, and ultimately Kernen went, yeah, and ended the interview. Joe Kernen's kind of MAGA adjacent, definitely more MAGA sympathetic, and he's on CNBC. But before we do, because it gets really hostile, and that's fine. I like hostile interviews with whoever. It happens, Gallego's saying a lot more things that I agree with than Kernen is, but perfectly fine. But we should remind ourselves how Kernen conducted a different recent interview. I've now shown this clip to you too many times, but I think it's a good contrast. Watch how he handles a much more obviously black and white issue than what he's going to ask Gallego about when he's interviewing Eric Trump. Then hold that memory in your head when we later watch his handling of the Gallego interview.
This is today, Eric. Two big deals entered, and just I'm sure you hear about this all the time. You've got a way, obviously, of explaining that. I mean, you've thought about that when you talk to the president about this, or when Don talks about some of his investments, or with Mr. Witkoff as well. In this one, they're talking about the UAE investing some money at the same time that they were granted access to some chips. And not saying it's related, but it could be. You're going to see this again and again in mainstream media in terms of a conflict of interest between the president in his position and his family being able to do so well in crypto.
Yeah. Joe, how long have I been sitting at this table? Like 20-something years, meaning I've been doing this with you guys for a very long time.
Yep.
We're far from Hunter Biden, right? The guys out there selling.
Okay, then he gives the most absurd answer ever. But remember, you're sitting across from the guy who presidents are coming up to Trump going, "Can I talk to Eric?" And Eric goes, "I'm a good boy." Trump's leveraging his government power to help out countries when they help out Trump's business. We just saw another example of that. The UAE one was an example of it. And it's so brazen. It's so brazen. And the question, you can't even decipher what Kernen's saying. It's the most discombobulated. All right, we want to give this. Do you want to do it this time? Yeah, Jaden, do it. Just because you might have gotten lost in the sauce of the television show, this is what the question was. Again, let me just remind you, but Jaden can do it since I did it before.
Today, Eric, two big deals entered, and just, I'm sure you hear about this all the time. You've got a way, obviously, of explaining that. I mean, you've thought about that when you talk about the president about this, or when Don talks about some of his investments. Or with Mr. Witkoff as well, and this one talking about the UAE investing some money at the same time that they were granted access to some chips. And not saying it's related, but it could be. You're gonna see this again and again in mainstream media in terms of conflict of interest between the president and his position and his family being able to do so well in crypto.
So that was a great job. That's the question. It is practically apologizing for even asking. Okay, so we have that energy, and now we have very different energy, which, if this were the standard, would be fine. But this is not the standard, apparently, with Joe Kernen. While we watch, please do click the subscribe button. If you appreciate the show, it is very easy. It's too easy, maybe. All you got to do is click, and you help us out. And this is on the topic of the shutdown and what Democrats are demanding to help fund the government.
Open the government, and this is unheard of.
We're not demanding anything. This is just a Republican talking point. All I want is for the ACA to be extended for Americans, so 24 million people do not get their premiums doubled. That's what I'm asking for.
For how long?
I don't care. We can do a CR. We can keep it as long as we can negotiate with the Republicans. If the Republicans can come up with a good plan that is, again, does not get permanency, I think that's gone. Look, Republicans control the government. There's, the White House, Senate, and the House of Representatives. I have to actually deal with that reality. But what I want to make sure is that Americans do not suddenly get a huge bill starting January 1st. And that's
don't you need to open the government to negotiate? Don't you need to reopen the government to do that? If Republicans shut down the government next time Democrats are in charge, to extract whatever it
Like
is
they did the
that
last
they
couple
happen
times.
to want. Are you saying that's okay? Are you saying that's okay if they do that?
I mean, the
next time
Republicans
now
have
that
done this quite a while, yes. Yeah,
And what
Republicans have
did
done
you
this
say
a
about
lot.
it?
I mean,
What did you say about it when they did it?
I don't know, and I don't care. What matters is, again, about 24 million Americans. What I care about, 24 million Americans, 24 million families have an opportunity to actually live the American dream and not have their insurance rates doubled overnight because the government refuses to act. Again, we can negotiate right now. By the way, how can I negotiate? The president's in Asia for 5 days. Johnson's basically keeping his the House of Representatives out till January to stop, and protect pedophiles. So who am I negotiating with right now? The person I'm talking to right now is everyday Americans who are worried that they're going to have their insurance rates doubled overnight because Republicans refuse to act. So they're screwing up on tariffs, they're raising inflation, and now they're going to go ahead and raise your premiums.
The Republicans are refusing to be blackmailed and held hostage into what Democrats want. Mike Johnson doesn't need to do anything.
Democrats, that's what I want is 24 million Americans. I want 24 million Americans to have inflation. No.
Okay,
24 million Americans want their insurance.
We're finished.
Healthy and affordable insurance.
I appreciate it.
You too. Have a good one.
We're finished. That led to this headline. CNBC's Joe Kernen shuts down fiery interview with Senate Democrat. We're finished. Watch his face here. How did he not make this face when Eric Trump responded to a brazen corruption story going, listen, I'm not Hunter Biden. How do you not go, oh, what kind of weird whataboutism was that?
Mike Johnson doesn't need to do anything.
Democrats, that's what I want is 24 million Americans. I want 24 million Americans to have inflation. No.
Okay,
24 million Americans want...
Which I love the energy. If you don't feel like you're getting an answer to your question, I mean, he's answering it. They're not going to say, sure, we shut down the government. But what's the truth? Yeah, they're not going to fund the government until they get what they want. Yep. Call that blackmail, call it whatever you want. For the first time in Trump's presidency, not really, but the first time they're willing to leverage it, they have something Republicans want from them. Otherwise, in other cases, they don't, because Republicans have the majority in the House and Trump in the White House. But now they do need something from Democrats. So Democrats are saying, all right, well, then we want something from you. And that is causing very real pain. An announcement about SNAP benefits being cut off. And that has to be weighed by Democrats as to how long they want to go with this. But if they don't go with this, he is correct about the skyrocketing premiums. Gallego is correct about the loss of health coverage. So that's what's happening. And it bothers me so much that hosts will go, well, what if Republicans did this? And that's why I put this headline up while we were going. They do. They do this when they're in the minority. This is just a headline about McCarthy meeting with Biden on the government shutdown and making border demands. So this happens. So then why don't you remember a Biden shutdown? Because he negotiated with them and he gave them some concessions. And I remember at the time Democrats were upset. You shouldn't have given those concessions. Let the government shut down. Biden decided not to. They weren't huge concessions, but they were concessions. And I think Gallego's right that if Republicans really said, we won't make any deal with you unless it's just for like a 5-year extension to these ACA subsidies, I bet enough Democrats would sign on. Now, do they also want to reverse the Medicaid cuts? Yes. Are Republicans ever going to go for that? No. I'll be honest with you, they're not. I do think you could force them into the ACA subsidies and take the win. That would be my argument. Keep this, hold the line until they give that one concession. I like that they brought the other ones because it's brought into the national dialogue. You can attack Republicans on that. It's important. But in terms of what they would actually be willing to concede on, probably the ACA subsidies. It would just be weird if a huge part of their entire agenda, which was demolishing Medicaid, they would reverse over this. Probably not.